The Quiet Flipper. Episode 3. Declaration and War Trials. Committee grind, signing, and personal cost. What's up, you magnificent bastards? Welcome back to the Masonic Files, where we skip the dusty rituals and the powdered wig lectures and get straight into the brothers who actually live the values. Brotherly love, relief, and truth, while building shit that lasts in the real world. This is episode 3 of our 4-part deep dive into Brother William Hooper, the quiet flipper who bridged two worlds with a square. In episode 1, we trace the Boston Ashlar, delicate nervous son of an Anglican rector, Harvard oratory standout, apprentice law under James Otis, bold move to Wilmington, thriving practice, marriage to Anne Clark, bringing Clark family wealth and stability, Finian plantation on Masonboro Sound with its lavish hospitality, rise to Deputy Attorney General, and the Regulator chapter where he was dragged through Hillsborough streets and rode with Tryon's militia at Alamance. We saw the square measuring local disorder and the chisel shaping the elite lawyer-planter. In episode 2, we rode the flip. Post-Alamance recalibration as British policies mirrored regulator grievances. Fiery letters earning the Prophet of Independence nickname. Election as North Carolina delegate in 1774. Signing the Continental Association. Early Congress oratory and committee work. Family rifts with loyalist father and brothers. And accusations of opportunism. The compasses bounded old loyalties. The plumb kept him upright amid personal costs and the level-bridged regional divides. Now the crucible intensifies. Hooper dives deeper into Continental Congress grind. Collaborates with Thomas Jefferson on foundational language, misses the July 4th vote. But signs the engrossed declaration on August 2nd, then faces brutal war at home. British raids, shelling, and burning properties, family flight, his own fugitive hiding amid yellow fever and injury. We'll sit with the committee toil, the solemn signing moment, the personal toll of separations and losses, and the health collapse that forces his resignation, all while the working tools cut through chaos and sacrifice. There will be no skipping the contradictions. The former regulator suppressor, now committing treason on parchment, the courtly host whose Finian is shelled, the delicate constitution cracking under low country fevers and stress. Let's pick up in Philadelphia and take our time, because this is where the orator and committee man turns words into irreversible action, and where the chisel of war and illness refines him, through real pain. By 1775 through 1776, Hooper is fully embedded in the Second Continental Congress. He serves on critical committees, including the Marine Committee alongside Joseph Hughes, helping shape early American naval policy and supply lines, and the Committee of Secret Correspondence, working with Benjamin Franklin on intelligence, foreign agents, and sensitive agreements that even Congress itself wasn't fully briefed on. Aha, see? Freemasons operate a shadow government, pulling strings from behind the scenes. It has nothing to do with the concept of compartmentalizing and limiting dissemination of information to maintain political advantage against an adversary and save lives. Hooper also contributes to the Board of War. His legal precision and Southern perspective prove valuable in drafting addresses, rights statements, and trade resolutions. Hooper works shoulder to shoulder with Thomas Jefferson on committees addressing colonial rights and foundational documents. His eloquent, measured style complements Jefferson's pen. Together they help craft language and arguments that feed into the Declaration of Independence. Private business, family matters, and North Carolina's push to organize its own government frequently pull him home. He misses the dramatic July 4th, 1776 vote on independence while back in Wilmington, helping replace royal authority with patriot structures. But he returns in time for the signing of the engrossed copy on August 2nd, missing the celebrations. The signing moment is solemn, not theatrical like some. Hooper's signature is clear, deliberate, and firm, not as oversized as John Hancock's flourish, but unmistakable in its commitment. He places his name on the document knowing full well it could mean the noose if the cause fails. British forces have already targeted him. Loyalists, including some in his own extended family, brand him traitor. The act commits his life, fortune, and sacred honor with no turning back. It's the quiet truth of a man who flipped when the larger threat to rights became clear, backing prophetic words with his own pen. The dangers aren't limited to Hooper and the other signers. This rebellion, our founding moment, has repercussions. It wasn't a one-and-done act the British would let pass. They wanted to keep the colonies under imperial control and took steps to keep the rest of colonies within the British fold. What follows the signing of the Declaration is essentially counterinsurgency operations, more akin to Afghanistan than a stand-up slugfest against another European power. But the British know how to deal with uprisings in its colonies. They already had centuries of experience putting down uprisings and revolts in the Caribbean, Africa, East Asia, other parts of North America, and especially India and the rest of the subcontinent. These backwater colonists may look an awful lot like their British cousins, but they would, the British reckon, respond to the same playbook as any other uppity colonists elsewhere in the world. While Hooper pushes policy in Philadelphia, the war crashes into his North Carolina world. British men of war prowl the Cape Fear coast. Finian on Masonboro Sound grows vulnerable. The family moves into Wilmington for safety at times. Hooper's properties face raids and shelling. A house he owns is burned. Finian itself is damaged by naval fire. His prized book collection and fine furnishings suffer. The once lavish hospitality spot becomes a target precisely because of his prominence. His health, never robust in the low-country climate, begins its steep decline. Early in 1777, Hooper contracts yellow fever amid Philadelphia outbreaks. The illness is brutal. Fever, weakness, the kind that lays strong men low. Combined with an earlier badly injured arm, details of the injury vary, but it hampers him. It forces a decision. On February 4th, 1777, he secures leave to return home. By late April, he formally resigns his congressional seat, citing private affairs and health. Though the yellow fever clearly plays a major role, he writes to associates that the situation leaves him no choice. Joseph Hughes and others continue the North Carolina delegation work. Back home, the personal cost mounts. Anne Clark Hooper, strong, resourceful, from the well-connected Clark family, endures separations, manages the children, William, Elizabeth, and Thomas surviving. Records suggest infant losses added quiet grief, and faces direct danger. When British forces under Major James H. Craig take Wilmington in January 1781, Anne and the children are expelled with little more than the clothes on their backs. British troops loot and burn. Furniture, plates, spoons, even feather beds are destroyed or carried off. Anne flees by wagon toward Hillsborough, thin and ill from the ordeal, with young Thomas feverish. Other British officers reportedly criticize Craig's harsh treatment of the family, but that's about the extent of the censure. Just a few tisks. Anne's brother, Continental Army officer Thomas Clark Jr., helps shelter them in Hillsborough, where the Hoopers eventually settle more permanently. Hooper himself becomes a fugitive at times. hiding house to house in the Edenton-Windsor area, while suffering malaria flares and the lingering injured arm. He moves between friends' homes, relying on patriot networks for food and shelter. The contrast is stark. The courtly Harvard man who once hosted lavishly at Finian, now reduced to fugitive status. His plantation in ruins, family scattered and traumatized. He donates much of his remaining legal earnings to the war effort, further straining finances. Yeah, those accusations of being an opportunist are really ringing true. Hooper relies on the tools of Freemasonry to cut through the fire. The trowel spreads unity in committee work, Marine Committee naval efforts, secret intelligence coordination, helping arm the Continental cause when supplies run thin. The gavel maintains disciplined oratory and resolution drafting amid congressional chaos and regional tensions. The chisel works relentlessly on the rough edges of health collapse, property loss, and family danger, refining the flipper through yellow fever, injury, and fugitive months. The compasses bound personal ambition and earlier conservative instincts when signing commits treason, and when private pulls compete with public duty. The level bridges his Boston roots, Carolina planter life, and the broader Patriot coalition, even as class and regional divides threaten to fracture it. Brotherly love shows in the quiet support networks, including Hanover Lodge connections, that shelter him and his family. He lives the values, not in lodge ritual, but in the committee room, the signing table, the hiding places, and the letters worrying for Anne and the children. The war trials exact a heavy toll. Hooper resigns from Congress but continues serving North Carolina, helping shape the new state government legislature work and later moderation on Loyalist treatment. Yet the physical and emotional chisel never fully stops. This chapter of Hooper's life lays bare the real cost of his principled stance. The prophet of independence who helped craft language with Jefferson misses the July 4th vote organizing back home, then returns to sign the engrossed declaration on August 2nd, a deliberate, unflinching act of truth that puts his neck in the noose. British raids shell Finian and burn his Wilmington house. His family is expelled with almost nothing. He hides as a fugitive while yellow fever and injury ravage his delicate constitution. The once lavish host watches prized books and furnishings destroyed, the working tools, trowel spreading committee unity and naval foundations, gavel for steady resolve, chisel refining through illness and loss, compasses keeping the flip from wavering. Turn eloquent words into lived sacrifice. Personal failings and earlier regulator contradictions don't disappear, but the Masonic steel helps him endure when comfort and family safety could have pulled him back. So next time you commit your name to something that could cost you dearly, or face separation and bodily breakdown while still grinding for a larger cause, remember Hooper in these war trials. He applied the trowel to build naval and intelligence efforts, the chisel to endure yellow fever and fugitive hiding, and raw truth and signing when retreat would have been easier. He lived the obligation from Philadelphia committees to North Carolina's burning coast. One collaborative draft, one deliberate signature, one letter worrying for his fleeing family at a time, turning the flip into unbreakable commitment. And this has been Episode 3 of the Masonic Files on Brother William Hooper, the Quiet Flipper series. Declaration and war trials, committee grind, signing, and personal cost. Episode 4 will cover his post-resignation service shaping North Carolina's government, the final health decline with malaria, gout, and rum to cope, post-war moderation on Loyalist treatment drawing criticism, death at 48 in Hillsborough in 1790, and the lasting legacy of a brother whose quiet square work help turn protest into republic. Hit subscribe Share this with your lodge brothers, your history buffs, or anyone carrying heavy personal costs while still showing up for the bigger fight. I'll catch you in episode 4. The final square. Stay square. Stay savage. Stay Masonic.